Oh man, I did not mean for this video to take this long. It should have been simple, something easier on me, but no. I started the project in August and now it's 2024. Oh well. I love designing characters. It's probably one of my favorite things to do. So I decided to take 4 random mood boards off of Pinterest and design characters based off of them. Little did I know that one of the boards I chose would be so much more difficult than I thought it would, causing this video to be delayed for so long. Bear with me here. This is my first time talking about my design process, so it may be a little messy. Quick warning, watching these speed paints back, there's a little bit of flashing lights, so if you're sensitive to them, then you may want to skip this video. Without further ado, let's get into the first design. This was the first mood board that really caught my eye. The abundance of sunflowers and country vibes made me think of a farm girl with an outfit adorned in sunflowers who's always ready to get to work. And because of the cat on the board, I decided to make her a cat girl. I don't usually draw cat girls in the classic sense. What I mean is designs that just slap ears and a tail on a human and call it done, like in a lot of anime. As I grew up and developed my art skills, there was some sort of stigma in my head against cat girls. I very much remember in my freshman year of high school, me and a friend discussed what a realistic half-cat, half-human would look like, and absolutely roasting the classic depiction of cat girls and cat boys. I'm not completely sure why, but it probably had something to do with seeing them as cringe, something that nowadays I don't see as bad. It was kinda dumb, and now I'm fine with being quote-unquote cringe because it's fun. In the end, that's all that really matters. I should be able to design a character however I want without worrying about what other people think. There are, of course, exceptions such as harmful stereotypes, but neon rainbow hair and different colored eyes? Why not? I had a fairly easy time with this first character. The first thing that came to mind when thinking about her is one of those stock images of a girl in a field. Seems like she's always wearing a sun hat and a summer dress that was blowing in the wind, so I decided that capturing that energy would be perfect. When designing her, I was also inspired by clothing from earlier in my life. At the beginning of high school, whenever I had a formal event, I would wear a denim jacket over a summer dress, which led to me giving her a cropped denim jacket of her own. I was also reminded of a pair of jeans I wore as a kid that had embroidered sunflowers going up one of the legs. So I gave her a simple embroidered sunflower design on the back of the jacket. She got the boots directly seen in the mood board and a sash across her waist to give the dress a better silhouette, and some dirt and bruising to show that she isn't afraid to get her hands dirty. Now that I look at her finished design, if you get rid of the catgirl traits, she looks a lot like how I used to look many years ago. For all of these characters, I picked colors from the mood board and tweaked them to look more appealing. I decided that making the dress a pale yellow would fit better than straight up white, and tied in the yellow of the sunflowers by making it the color of the sash on her waist. Similarly, I made the ribbon on her sun hat the same reddish brown as her boots. I, of course, made the jacket a denim dark blue, and overall decided that she would look the best with a dark hair color so as not to blend in with the other elements of the design, making it the same dark brown as the center of the sunflowers. In the end, I was able to create a design that almost perfectly represents how I saw the mood board. I imagine that sunflowers are, of course, her favorite flower, and that she lives on a farm in a very rural area. She can absolutely stand up for herself and enjoys the isolation that comes with living on a farm, though she does have family and friends to come help her with her daily duties. She's not the biggest fan of the city, it's a bit too loud and busy for her, so she avoids going into it as much as possible. This guy was fun for sure. He's very inspired by both 80s fashion and cyberpunk, and because I had recently watched Scream for the first time, I made him a serial killer. Don't question it. So what you don't see here is that originally this guy was going to be a purple anthro raccoon, as seen in the central image of the mood board. However, I just couldn't make it work. So instead, I made him a pretty tall and lanky guy with an attitude. He has the worst resting bitch face and is also just a bitch, and I love him for it. To start with the 80s vibe, I gave him a big ol' colorful windbreaker, which I would give a raccoon hood because it's cute and it puts the raccoon back into his design. He got some basic skinny jeans, though I ripped them up because ripped jeans always look good, and a sweater tucked into said jeans. He, just like the previous character, got shoes ripped from the mood board because I am usually way too lazy to design shoes myself. Why do that when they're right there? So, a while back, I had this dream, and long story short, it was about this jock/theater kid that ended up going on a murder spree with a baseball bat and a fire axe. Like I said, I had recently watched and fallen in love with Scream, and I was reminded of that dream, so I decided that his weapon of choice would be a baseball bat with some funky enhancements. As you've probably noticed, I went over the sketch of the character with a red sketch of what he would wear to hide his identity, as long as the cool addition to his bat. I imagine that it's some sort of solid hologram technology. I don't know, and I don't care to explain it right now. That's something I tend to do if I dwell on a certain element for too long, and I end up having to explain exactly how it works. The helmet is actually something I do for a lot of my cyberpunk characters. The whole screen robotic looking thing you can get online. I just think it's really cool. To be completely honest, I'm not sure why I gave the mask horns, so I'm just gonna guess that it's cause they're also cool. When it came to the colors, there are two places I absolutely struggled with, being the jacket and the hair. When it came to the jacket, I knew I wanted the same dark purple and bright pink from the board, but couldn't decide how I wanted to execute it. I ended up with bright pink V-shaped stripe in the center, with purple on top and black on the bottom, which was covered in stars, like the center image of the top row of the board. The second place was the hair. I just couldn't decide what color it should be. I really wanted him to have some part of it dyed, but ended up scrapping it for the same brown that's found on the baseball bat. The square in the center allowed me to get the super cool looking abstract lines that are seen in two of the MOODBOARDS images, which also allowed me to tie in the blue that I ended up using for both his eyes and his mask. When it came to his alternate outfit, I gave him some fingerless gloves and strictly made his jacket black and pink. I mean, he can't wear the exact same thing to kill people that he wears in the real world. Granted, if this were real life, I'm pretty sure someone would notice, but that doesn't matter. He's also got a much darker sweater, which would be the same color that I would use for the metal bits on the mask. I made the horns and spikes of the mask pink while keeping the rest blue, and as you can see, another struggle I had was the hologram halo around his head. It's an aspect of the mood board I absolutely loved, and it took a little bit of messing with to get the result I ended up with. I continued to use the same pink and blue for the spike bands around the bat, and ended with a design that I'm pretty happy with. This guy lives in a futuristic world that is influenced by 80s fashion, because why not? In the day, he's probably a college student, but in the night, he stalks people to kill them. Though I like to think that he's hunting down bad people for the greater good, like a vigilante. He, of course, loves raccoons, and definitely has one he illegally keeps as a pet in his apartment. I imagine that he's pretty cold around most people, not one to show emotion other than anger, but truly he can be a kind soul once you get to know him. Just, don't do awful stuff and you'll be on his good side. As much trouble as this guy gave me, nothing could prepare me for the next design. Man, at first I was so excited to design this character, but this design ended up being the reason why this video took me months. In reality, all of this work only adds up to maybe about 2 weeks. But after creating the first design for this character in September, I was so discouraged that I just stopped altogether. Then I got busy, and now here I am. So the first idea for this character was a very regal Gorgon pirate queen, because I love snakes and I really wanted to make her a Gorgon. However, I made quite a few mistakes that resulted in this design just not turning out the way I wanted it to. One of the biggest mistakes I made was being completely stuck in one design and trying to make it work. I completely lost the ocean and shipwreck vibes, and instead of starting over from scratch, I finished a design that I was just not happy with. I don't think the design is inherently bad, but I think it completely misses the mark when it comes to creating a character based off the mood board I chose. The second mistake was that the colors were, in my opinion, overall too dark. The gold and white just looked super out of place for the character, and she needed more brighter elements to separate different areas more. Everything that doesn't have gold or white just kind of blends together. So, 3 months later, I started over. The overall idea was very much the same, some sort of pirate royalty. I leaned less into the regal aspect of the character and more into the pirate aspect, ending up with the ghost of a princess who lost her life at sea. I made the character much younger and gave a pose that was more full of curiosity, as if she hadn't seen anyone in decades and you had just appeared in front of her. Kept her a Gorgon, because I can do whatever I want, and overall changed her outfit to be more pirate-like. I gave her a corset over a dress that was very flowy with a cute off-the-shoulder design, being referenced from both fantasy and pirate shirts you would see at a Ren fair. I chose to hint at the original transparent fabrics of the previous design by giving her mesh tights and a mesh halter top connected to the dress. She got big old pirate boots and a simpler crown that drew less attention to it. When it came to colors, I didn't need to change much. The only big changes I made was making the skin color more desaturated to give a more ghostly look, as well as adding a blue color seen in the mood board to go along with the blue-toned white. To break up the darker areas, I made the dress the same white as her eyes, which made a huge difference compared to the previous design. The corset ended up being a simpler design, but colored overall the same, which is how the rest of the design also ended up. I decided that the gem in the center of her crown would be blue, along with the eyes of the snakes on her head. I gave her gold painted nails with the exception of her middle fingers being blue, just to add that color one more time. While I don't think this design is perfect by any means, I do think that this is a lot better than my previous attempt. I imagine that she was on a ship as a form of rebellion, only to lose her life to a big storm that may or may not have been caused by the Kraken. She wanders the sea surrounding her shipwreck, hoping someone will help her break the curse keeping her there and allow her to go see her family before passing on to the afterlife. After redoing the last design successfully, I had a lot of motivation and immediately jumped into this final character. I was very excited and even already drew sketches of what I was thinking in my sketchbook. In the end, I got a drag queen with a magical companion. This design popped into my brain almost immediately when I saw the mood board, so this will be a bit of a shorter segment. A lot of this mood board's elements ended up in this design, including the hairs, nails, Oni mask, boots, and jacket. They all made me imagine a confident character with a great sense of style and not afraid to show some skin. As time passed, I realized that it would be perfect for me to make the character a drag queen. It just fit the vibe so well. There really isn't much to say on the design itself since most of it came from the board. At first, I was going to give the character a third eye, but decided to just add the cat from the center as a little companion. With some cool belts and glasses, I was ready to move on to the colors. I absolutely loved the coloring process for this character. I love palettes that are just black and or white with a pop of color, in this case being green. The best part of this process was coloring each of the materials in ways to show that they were different. The leather had a specific highlight added to it, I made the belts look shiny, almost iridescent, and the puffy jacket got that wrinkled texture with lots of shading to make it pop. The makeup was also very fun. I looked at a bunch of references to get a look that felt perfect for the design. I absolutely adore this character. They're a confident person with a major amount of sass and a little three-eyed cat that helps more than you know. Like I mentioned earlier, this little guy is magical, and I imagine he helps this character have even cooler performances or looks. Maybe the kitty is more powerful than the character thinks, but at least he's using his powers for something cool rather than taking over the world. And that's it. 4 characters designed based on mood boards I found online. I did not expect this video to take this long, I'm sorry about that. Motivation is something I still struggle with, so I'll try my best to be a little more consistent. No guarantees though. If you're interested, I have commissions open and you can contact me through Discord or Instagram. Links to all my socials can be found on my website, vampireghost.card.co. If you've made it this far, thank you. I've always wanted to make YouTube videos, and this is definitely not my first attempt at it. I hope I'm able to entertain you viewers and as well share my art with the world. Thank you for watching.